Hi dear students, welcome back to computer science class. We have completed data structures in Python and have learned variety of topics like stack and queue in detail, right? We have seen the operations and implementation of stack as well as queue. And now it's high time to look at our next chapter, and it's all about data file handling. As the name suggests, data file handling is all about handling data file, right? And the specialty of this chapter is we are moving or we are diverting from the conventional way of doing programs, or especially storing data, either input or output, whatever it is, from the conventional storing method to a new method, right? And conventionally we know what we have been following, right? It is temporary nature, and we're going for permanent in nature. That's the difference, okay? And we'll be heading to all the important topics or connected with data file handling. And in this chapter we'll be mainly focusing on three types of files, like text file, binary file and CSV file, comma separated values. Okay, yeah, these are the three types of files we are going to deal with. And not only the theory stuff, we'll be getting into detail of all these types of files and its operations and implementations. So in today's session we will be having these topics for discussion. Introduction, of course, there are two types of programs, okay? The program we have followed so far, and second is the type of program we are going to follow using data file handling. So that's in the introduction. And why use files? What's the specialty of using files in programming? And finally, data file operations, main three operations, and we have some more operations, right? So without spending much time on the introduction, let's head to the topic, okay? Yeah, so moving on, introduction, okay? And you know, the program we have been following or we have followed so far, right? It is a program, you know, let's think about our last program. What was last program? Queue implementation, right? It was a menu driven program to perform either push, pop, or traversal, right? Or display, either inserting, deleting, or updating, or you can perform all of these, right? Okay, so because it's a menu driven program, and you know, okay, we will do the program, we will execute it, we will get the result, right? And after that, after closing your program, after you close your program, will you get the previous result? No, right? You will not get the previous result or results. Suppose you are executing it for the third time, the same program for the third time. Will you get the results of the last two programs? No, because the results are not saved anywhere, right? The program is saved, right? Your Python program is saved, but the results are not saved, or the result is not saved. So we can say it is transient in nature. Transient in nature means temporary in nature. It runs for a short time, and after getting or after completing the program, the data disappears, right? Data disappears, okay? That's what transient program is. That is the program we have followed so far, right? Yes. So transient program, this program runs for a short time. Short time in sense, in the lifetime of that program. That's it, for single execution. That's what short time is, okay? Lifetime of that program is, yeah. Then which gives the input, of course. Then when it ends, yeah, data disappears, right? When it ends, data disappears. Run again, okay, suppose you are going to execute it a second time. It will be like a clean slate, right? You're starting afresh. That's the meaning, okay? It will be looking like a clean slate, because there won't be anything of the previous execution, okay? Any results or any nothing, right? Yeah. So run, because the very reason is it runs inside RAM. You know what RAM is, right? Random access memory. That's a primary memory, and it is volatile in nature. That is temporary in nature. You know what it is, right? Yeah, primary memory or RAM is temporary in nature. Random access memory is volatile. That means temporary in nature. So the transient program or transient programs run on RAM or in RAM. That is why we are not getting the previous results, okay? Yeah, so that's what transient program is. So hope you understood what transient program is, right? The programs we have followed so far. After running the program, after typing, we will execute it, we will get the result, and after closing, the data disappears, right? Because we work on RAM, random access memory. That is a memory that's called primary memory. That's a memory what the program which is running or being run is stored, right? Is stored and processed there in RAM. And another type of program is persistent program. Persistent, that means permanent. Okay, you can easily connect it, right? Transient, temporary, that is TT, and persistent, what? Permanent, PP. Okay, so persistent program, what is that? Persistent program. Transient program runs for a short time. Transient program runs for a short time. Persistent program runs for a long time. That means you will get the results of the previous executions. That means something like input and output are stored permanently, right? RAM is a place for temporary storage, and which is a place for permanent storage? Of course you know it, right? Hard disk. So in data file handling operations, we do store data in permanent memory or in secondary storage media or in hard disk, other than here in what? RAM, right? Yes. So run for long time, stores data in permanent storage, that is hard disk, hard drive. Okay. Okay. Example, shut down or restart your program, run from the same point, right? Suppose you shut down or restart the program or your computer. What happens is after coming back again, after booting, you get the same point, right? Execution starts at the same point. That's what a persistent programming. Example, operating system, web servers are examples for this, right? Yes. So this is what persistent program is. That means run for a long time, then data will be stored permanently. Permanently means we can very easily connect it to what? Hard disk, right? Secondary storage. So other than storing data in RAM, which is volatile nature, which is temporary nature, here in a persistent program, or we can say in data file operations or data file handling, we do store data in hard disk. That means it becomes permanent. Hope you get it, right? Yeah. So we are making input and output, or we can say input or output, permanent in the hard disk. That's what we are going to do with data file operations. So of course data is vital, right? Data is very important. We have to store it somewhere, especially payroll applications or accounting applications need data to be stored permanently every day or every time, right? Yes, because sometimes we have to fetch the previous information to calculate something, right? Yes, so data should be stored somewhere instance in the hard disk. That is a place supports permanent storage, right? Yes. So these are the two programs: transient program, the program that we have followed so far, and a persistent program, the program or the type of storage we are going to implement, right? We are going to learn with data file handling for files like text file, binary file, and CSV file, right? Yes. Okay, hope you get a clear understanding of transient program and persistent program. Transient, temporary; persistent, permanent. Transient, RAM, temporary, volatile; persistent, permanent, hard disk or secondary storage, right? Yes. Then what is a file? What is a file? The hierarchy, right? File is a storage place, or we can say a data document that is stored permanently. That's what a file is. So document or data stored on permanent storage can be read, written or rewritten based on our need, right? Yes. So file is nothing but a document. It can be our input. File can be our input. It can be our output, whatever it is. Okay. Input in the sense that's not the program. Sometimes we have to take input from the already stored data. That's what I mean. Okay. Yes. That's what I meant. Hope you understood. Our Python program is not a file. Of course, it's a file. It's a Python file, right? But we are not talking about that file. Sometimes, normally we give input after getting the result, right? Yeah, using keyboard we'll provide the input to the program. But here in the case of data file handling, you can have the input which is already stored format, That means some other file, right? Input file. Okay, you have some kind of text or digit or something there in the file, and you can make use of that file to give input to your program. That's what I mean. Okay, yeah. So document or data stored on permanent storage and that file can be read or file can be written, or means we can write data to a file and which can be rewritten. That means we can write it again, we can update it. Yes. Then file IO means what do you mean by file IO? File input output, giving data to the file and taking data from the file, right? Giving data to file or saving data to a file and taking back the data from the file. Yes. So transfer of data from secondary memory to primary memory and vice versa. Secondary memory to primary memory and vice versa. Can you connect it to a program? Yes, it's very simple. When we do a program, we after getting the result, we do pass the data, or we do store data from primary memory to secondary memory, right? Simply we can say we are saving data. Now it is in primary memory in RAM. We can save it there in the secondary memory, hard disk, right? That's what primary memory to secondary memory transfer is. And sometimes you want to take the input to your Python program from an existing file, right? So how can you connect it? How can you relate it? Like secondary memory to primary memory. That means secondary memory or hard disk to your program, right? That's what secondary memory to primary memory transfer of data is. Hope you understood it, right? Yes. So that's what file IO is, transfer of file or transfer of data from primary memory to secondary memory and vice versa, right? Yes. So using this image, it will be very clear to you, right? Yes. Here is a user, then program in RAM. That means our Python program, right? Program in random access memory. So program in RAM, that's our program, and you can see the hard disk. So here is a primary memory and hard disk is the secondary memory. Here is a user, right? Yeah, you can show the arrow, right? Yeah, to and forth. Okay. Then program in RAM. This is our program. We can take, or okay, first let's consider we do store or save data there in hard disk. Okay. This arrow shows data transfer from primary memory to secondary memory or RAM to hard disk. Suppose we are saving the result of our program from RAM to hard disk. After getting the result will be there in RAM, right? Primary memory. And if you want to store it, you have to transfer it from random access memory or primary memory to the hard disk. Simply saving the data. That's it. Okay. Yeah. Hope I'm not making it complex, right? Okay. Yeah. So sometimes you have to take what input from an already existing file instead of giving it using keyboard. Okay. Yes. So at the time, data flow will be from what, hard disk to RAM or secondary memory to primary memory. Okay, so this shows the flow of data. That means file IO operations, data can be transferred from primary memory to secondary memory and vice versa. That's the meaning. Okay, so user interacts with primary memory, and you can save data. We can think it of as like the input. Okay, output. Okay, program in RAM. That means the result can be saved in hard disk, and sometimes you can take the input from an existing file which is stored in hard disk to your program. Okay, that's it, data flow. So that's all about the introduction, like transient program and persistent program, then file IO operations. Okay, yeah. Now it is why use files. What is the use of files? Why we use files in programming? Okay, yes, I think you got some understanding of why we use files. In a single statement definition, or statement can be permanent storage. Okay, storing data permanent. That's a use. Yeah. So data inside files, persistent data, we know that, right? Data inside file or data inside hard disk or secondary memory is permanent in nature. It is persistent. Yes, another diagram. Here is our Python program. That's our RAM, primary memory, and external file. That's a secondary memory or secondary storage or hard disk. So when you write, when you save your file to your secondary memory, it's called write operation. Okay, write to the file. That is, suppose you're getting the result and you're saving it in the external file in the hard disk. That's what write to file is. Save operation. Okay, saving a program, just like saving a program, you're saving the output. Okay, that's what write operation is. Here the data file handling terminology is write. Then sometimes you have to read. Like I've already told you, sometimes the input of your Python program can be from an existing file. That's what read is. Read from file for input of your Python program. Okay, and it's called load operation. Okay, one is saving the output of your program permanently in the hard disk. That's what write is, save. And sometimes you have to take something from the existing file as the input. That's what load is or read is. Okay, yeah. So data is stored permanently on secondary storage. We know that. Then file. Here is the formal definition of file. It is a stream or sequence of characters, or we can say data, right? Yeah, occupying named place in the hard disk. Of course, there must be a name for the file, right? Otherwise, it cannot be referenced. Yeah. So there should be a valid file name for everything, whatever it, not only to files, for every aspect. Okay, right? Yeah. So file for every entity. File is a stream or sequence of characters or data occupying what named place in the hard disk or secondary storage. Okay, yeah. Hope you understood it. Why use files? File means permanent storage, right? Data is persistent or permanent. So we have seen two operations: writing data to a file, that's saving; loading data from a file, or reading data from a file, that's what load is. Then we have seen the definition, right? Yes. Now it is data file operations. You know, here we have three basic operations. Okay, we have only three basic operations, and our main focus will be on these three operations. You know, yeah, before start working you have to open file, right? Open a file, and after you have to close it. It's very simple, right? Before doing anything on a file, you have to open the file, and after completing all the processes with the file, you have to close it. It's very simple, opening and closing, right? Yes. Then okay, these are the operations, basic operations, we can call it as basic operations. Yeah, opening a file, performing operations, read, write, etc. Okay, we have a lot of other operations as well beyond our topic, okay, syllabus. Yeah, then closing the file. So these are the three basic operations: opening a file, performing operations, and closing a file. Just like opening a textbook, right? If you want to get into, you know, just like this video, you can think it of like this video. Okay, yeah, if you want to watch this video, you have to open it first, right? Open it first, then you will watch it. That's what, read or write, whatever it is, and finally you have to close it. You have to close YouTube, right? Yes, that's it. Okay, so this is generic to everything, general to everything. Okay, yes. Then let's look at some more operations: creating a file, traversing, appending, inserting, deleting, then creating a copy and updating. Okay, that are the operations, advanced operations we can call. Then basic operations are read, write, and append. Okay, so we will be mainly focusing on these three operations in detail: read operation, write operation, append operation. You know what append is, right? Adding at the end of, yes. So these are the basic facts about data file handling. Okay, let's have a quick revision, or recap of the topics we have discussed so far. Introduction. In introduction we have seen two types of programs. The program we have followed so far, and the one we are going to follow, right? Transient program, temporary in nature, run for a short time, right? After getting the result, or after having all the operations done, everything disappears, right? Yes. So because the very reason is it stores in RAM. Yes. Then, you know, persistent program, run for long time, data stored on permanent storage, that is hard disk. Then, you know, shut down. Okay, get back to the same point. Then file, it's a document or data, permanent. Of course, when you look at the term, when you listen to the term file, just think about permanent storage. That's it. Okay, hard disk or storage, secondary storage. Yeah. Then can be read, written or rewritten. Then file IO, transfer of data from secondary memory to primary memory, and primary memory to secondary memory. You know, when do we transfer data from primary memory to secondary memory? At the time of saving, right? Saving the output. Okay, and when do we take data from secondary memory to primary memory? Maybe for input, right? Or not only for input, for many other operations as well. Okay, yeah, but for most of the time it's for input. Yeah. Then we have seen the flow of data, program in RAM, that's what primary memory is. Then hard disk, that's the secondary memory. So it's to and fro, right? Yeah. Data flows from primary memory to secondary memory, and secondary memory to primary memory. This makes the difference here in data file handling. Okay, yes. In our previous programs, we didn't have any secondary memory, right? We do not have any scope for the secondary memory. We are working with primary memory, we are starting with primary memory, we are running with primary memory, we are ending with primary memory, right? Yes, that's what transient program is. Okay, then why use files? Of course, for permanent storage or persistent data. Then we have seen the data flow. Then formal definition, stream or sequence of characters or data occupying a named place in the memory. Then data file operations, you know, just like anything, any real-time entity, first you have to open, then you can perform, finally you have to close it. Yes. Then additional operations, creating, traversing, appending, inserting, deleting, creating, copy, and finally updating. And we will be focusing mainly on read, write, and append operations. Okay, so this is all for the time being, and in the coming chapters on video lectures, we'll be seeing more on data file handling, right? Yes, so it will be very helpful for you in your programming skill, as well as in your project, especially in your project. Okay, yes, so thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Take care.